At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, on January 21, 2026, U.S. President Donald J. Trump stunned global audiences with a dramatic and contentious push to secure Greenland, a strategic Arctic territory that is a semi-autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. What began as a series of aggressive threats has, within days, shifted toward a less confrontational but still unresolved diplomatic effort that has rattled transatlantic relations and raised deep questions about alliance solidarity, sovereignty, and Western security. A controversial bid for Greenland. Trump's interest in Greenland is rooted in its strategic position between North America, Russia, and China. He has long argued that the United States must control the territory to secure national and global security, particularly as climate change opens Arctic sea routes and exposes valuable minerals. In earlier statements, Trump suggested that all options, including military force, were on the table to bring Greenland under U.S. control. In his Davos speech, Trump sought to calm fears of an invasion, declaring, "I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force." Yet he simultaneously emphasized that the United States alone was capable of defending Greenland, a message that many interpreted as a threat cloaked in diplomacy. Tariffs, diplomacy, and a framework deal. In the run-up to his Davos remarks, Trump had threatened to impose punitive tariffs on 8 European countries, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, unless they abandoned opposition to U.S. control of Greenland. Those tariffs were set to take effect on February 1st, and threatened to rise further in June if resistance continued. However, in a rapid turn of events on January 21st, the president withdrew the tariff threat and announced that, following talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he had agreed to a framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. Trump wrote on social media that, based upon this understanding, he would not implement the planned tariffs. Details of the framework remain vague. Trump described the arrangement as beneficial to the U.S. and its NATO allies, and suggested it would focus on Arctic security cooperation, particularly relating to U.S. ambitions to deploy a potential missile defense network dubbed the Golden Dome. Allies push back. Denmark and Greenland have consistently rejected the idea that their territory could be sold or transferred. Danish leaders, including Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, reiterated that Greenland's sovereignty is non-negotiable, even while signaling their willingness to discuss security cooperation in the Arctic with Washington, as long as territorial control remains untouched. NATO officials, too, underscored that discussions with Trump did not include changing Greenland's political status. Secretary General Rutte explicitly stated that the alliance did not talk about transferring the territory out of Danish control, focusing instead on cooperation against growing Russian and Chinese activity in the region. Transatlantic tensions and global repercussions. Trump's rhetoric and tactics have noticeably strained relations between the United States and its European allies. European leaders and institutions, including the European Parliament, raised serious concerns about Trump's approach, suspending the ratification of trade deals and warning that coercive tactics against a NATO member undermine trust and stability. At the World Economic Forum, Trump's wider speech touched on topics ranging from immigration and energy policy to NATO burden sharing, with critics accusing him of leveraging economic and military pressure rather than diplomatic consensus. What's next? The outcome of this emerging Greenland framework remains uncertain. Observers note that, while the immediate threat of tariffs and military coercion has receded, fundamental disagreements persist over sovereignty, strategic interests, and alliance collaboration. Greenlanders themselves, and Denmark, have made clear that Greenland is not for sale, and any long-term resolution will require their direct involvement. As the world watches, Trump's maneuverings over Greenland may ultimately reshape aspects of NATO cooperation, Arctic security policy, and transatlantic diplomacy, even if outright acquisition of the island never occurs.